Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome to the Crypto Truth, where I give you the truth as I see it. Okay, today I just want to go over a more philosophy than anything else. It's very important to understand where the world is going and what's happening. And I know many of you may be a little bit upset that this isn't a holochain video. Actually, today I'm making another holochain video, and I'm going to be on my computer. We do have some things to discuss and that I'm excited about as well. But first and foremost, I wanted to bring this to you guys' attention. I've talked about this before. I'll try to find a link to the video. I know that many of you guys aren't going to spend a whole entire hour listening to what I was saying, but I was saying that in my previous video before about stagflation and how stagflation is actually going to happen. In life, there's a lot of people who just kind of tell people, okay, well, this is going to happen. And then they have all of these, I don't know, these very difficult terminology, you guys know my vocabulary isn't that big. Actually, it is big, but it's not big in terms of certain things. So, but anyway, my point is that I really want to talk about two things, actually. I'm not going to talk about gentrification as I talked about before, but I am going to talk about a growing problem and what's happening, especially in the United States of America. And this has something to kind of do with the housing market, but it's just one example. So I'm going to use the housing market as an example. And then, yes, this does go into cryptocurrency as well. It's very important that you guys kind of have a good reasoning as to why you either support certain crypto projects or that you actually understand exactly what's happening in the world so that you can adjust either your portfolio or follow and support whichever project that you want first. So the first thing is that I'm going to talk about why pure capitalism does not work. All right. And I'm just going to draw a picture out for everyone here. And then obviously on the other end, before anybody starts, oh, well, you need to strongman the other side and communism doesn't work. And all of, you know, I forgot the other word. Socialism doesn't work and all this. Look, my solution to things are after I actually explain. My real solution is like way longer. I could talk for 4 or 5 hours, and my poor girlfriend have had to hear me talk about that in a long term. And she was opinionated on one side or the other. I'm not going to say which. And then after she listened to me talk about 4 or 5 hours, she was like, oh yeah, that's right. But how do we get to that conclusion? A lot of times what's happening in our society right now is that everyone has is opinionated, but there's no real solutions and no action coming from those actual thoughts. Well, you need to strongman the other side. You need to strongman the other side. You talk about the war. Oh, well, we're pro-Israel. Oh, we're pro-Palestinian. Oh, well, we're this. You know, oh, we don't like it. You know, come on, man. Like, we can sit here and we can argue and we can discuss these things at a very high level. But I think that we have to get to the root of the problem. And in this situation, I'm getting to the root of the problem. And I'm going to explain why pure capitalism does not work. So first off, what's happening right now is we have everyone wants to get into the real estate market, right? So these are my terrible. Okay, that didn't even look like a house. Okay, my drawings are terrible. I am so sorry. But we have here, let's say we have 3 houses, right? Now, what's happening is there's going to be a greater divide between the rich and the poor. So the assets, in this case, the asset that I'm talking about is our houses in the housing market. They are, when the economy hits or as inflation grows, there's be less available on the market. But why hasn't housing gone down? I'm going to explain why. Housing has not gone down because in we have a lot of people in the real estate market. I don't know if my camera can get that high or if it got that high, but that says real estate. So we have rich people, and then we have, I'm gonna call people like us, I'm gonna call us normal people, right? I'm gonna put us over here on this side, normal. And I mean normal as far as income, not normal as far as personality or who you are. So we have rich people and we have people with assets. And the game right now is that when you're rich, as the economy goes down, normal people cannot afford to get a house. They can't buy a house. Why? Because it's too much. Right? And when that happens, rich people, this happened back in 2008, rich people say, well, you know what? We're going to purchase these houses. Now, normally, you're like, well, what's the matter with somebody rich purchasing houses? Honestly, there's nothing wrong with it. But there's a problem. And that problem is greed. Because what happens is that we have one rich person purchasing all of these houses, and they're wanting normal people to rent. And now we've entered into the renting phase. Rent continues to go up. Inflation goes up. In the job market. So prices, wages aren't going up as well. So when wages are not going up or wages are stagnant, I'm just going to put a little... I don't know. There we go. When wages are like stagnant and they're not going up or down too much, and we have all of this inflation, the only people who make out with more money are rich people. Now, you may say, oh, but wait, you're trying to take away rich people and their ability to purchase homes and houses. No, I'm not. But what I will say is that the way our system works, this is why everyone is getting in real estate. And this is why our society, especially here in America, I don't really know exactly how it works in other countries. I do know that we have a lot of people over here in America. They go across seas and they actually purchase homes and houses. They buy a lot of them because they can, and then they rent them out, and now they're getting that guaranteed income. They're getting that income. Now, I know many of you are like, well, you know, I think that it's okay for one person to have all of these houses so that people can rent. And I want to let you know that these people aren't caring about your life or about they're going to provide rent for the price well above whatever the mortgage is. Obviously, this is all one-on-one stuff. We all know this stuff. I'm going to get a little bit deeper in just a second, but we have to set the groundwork for exactly what's happening here. So we have rich people or people, they're buying assets. In this case, we're just using this one example. Now, there are many other examples, but we're just going to stick with this one example for now. Okay. So in the housing market, we have it. Okay. Normal people, they rent, the wages are going sideways, and the rich are buying all of the property and or housing assets. Now, where am I going with this? Well, the point is a lot of people here are trying to get here. And how they're trying to get here is by doing exactly what the rich people are doing, right? So in order for normal people or middle class, I'm going to say middle class, poor, working poor, in order for working poor and middle class to possibly get to being rich, you need a stream of income, business, and now everyone's like, I'm getting into real estate. Well, what happens is that people, they start getting into real estate and they don't realize the complications that come with actually with real estate. So here's what happens. We'll say a person's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to sell my house. I'm going to live in I'm living a tiny home because I'm not home anyways. So I'm going to buy me a tiny home. And then I'm going to purchase I don't know, what can get you a solid house in the state of Florida? Just a starter house. I would say about a good $250,000, $300,000, right? You get a nice little starter house and you're like, okay, I got this house now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the same game as the rich people doing. I'm going to have this be rented out. Well, what's happening is that when that happens, obviously the rich is already buying up all of this land, all of these property, and all of these houses. And now we have people who are middle or high class saying, hey, you know what? I want those multiple streams of income. I'm going to do the exact same thing. And what happens is there becomes a shortage in the market. And that's what's happening now, is we're having a shortage in the market. Now, me personally, I don't want to buy like 3 or 4 different houses or properties. I don't want to have to deal with people and their lifestyle and them taking care of the home and however they want to do it. For me, that's too much drama. There's not enough peace for myself. And I know a lot of you are like, well, you know, all people aren't like that. Well, I can guarantee you, I not only know stories, I know people who rent out multiple properties, and yeah, it is a constant problem. So yeah, no thank you. If I make a lot of money, I am purchasing my house, my home, and I'm going to live within my means so that I don't have to use my energy and or work for a wage that won't grow. So I'd rather invest my money into other things. Now, obviously, that's where cryptocurrency comes in. Me personally, if I ever become rich or have a whole lot of money, I'm going to invest that money into things that will hold its value and or grow its value in different ways. Now, there are many different ways. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't even want to go into all of that on a deep level. But what I'm telling you is that a lot of people, especially people who are renting and a wage are going sideways, they're not getting anywhere. Most people in my country, in the United States of America, they're not getting anywhere. People are just barely holding their nose above water to survive. And we're like, well, how, you know, the United States government is like, well, housing market is going up and the economy is very strong right now. I'm not going to get into you how we can manipulate numbers, right? But we can manipulate numbers many different ways to say whatever you wanted to say. But if we look at where the world is right now and how people are trying to live and survive, most people are living off of credit, or they're going into their credit. Now, I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, I've heard some people say, oh, well, you know, the savings from COVID and all the money that they got. Look, I'm going to give you an example of exactly how much money has gone out with COVID. And you guys can look this up. Please look it up. The money that we have spent in Ukraine alone is with all of these wars, and I'm going to go into other wars as well, not in this video, but it's been less than what we provided for COVID. But not only that, let's say they're like, oh, well, you know, those $800 checks, we should have given $800 checks. Do you guys understand how far $800 checks or $3,000, $3,600 checks actually gets you? So people did not throw their money into savings and was like, well, I'm just going to take it out little by little so I can survive. No, people lost their jobs. Okay. People lost their livelihood. Everything changed, and the government needed to do something, because if they didn't do anything, it would have been absolutely terrible. It would have been absolutely terrible. Now, what the solution was, I'm not going to get into that because that goes into my actual solution to everything overall, right? And again, like I said, that's a very long conversation to have. But going back to this, you can clearly see that there's a shortage right now, and that shortage is causing a lot of pain. Why? Because we have some people who have been saving up we have some people who've been saving up for 10 to 20 years. This means that, and many of you are like, oh, well, they just need to get a better job. That's the other thing we need to talk about as far as energy is concerned. If you live in a country, I'm just going to tell you how the United States works. If you live in the United States of America, you educate yourself. You say, okay, well, I'm going to go to college. First off, you have to make a good decision to go to college. You go in college, you can say go to community college, or you can go to a university. But you say, you know what, I don't have the money to go to a university, so I'm going to go to a community college. You go to a community college, you get maybe some grants and some scholarships and stuff like that. You get your 2-year degree. And then you say, you know what, I'm going to transfer over to a university, which usually happens. You transfer over to a university or a 4-year degree, and then you get your degree. And then after you get your degree, you are supposed to put in application forms, and, you get these entry-level jobs, and, you'll start off working, and you'll build up your wealth. And then you'll grow within the company or the organization that hired you. That all sounds well, that all sounds great, but there's a bit of an issue and a bit of a problem in that, just in that little area here. So by the time you graduate, from graduation to actually working, there's this process called applying for jobs and or interviews. Okay? And what's happening is that a lot of these kids, a lot of millennials, by the way, which I am a millennial, a lot of millennials, we graduated, we made a good decision, right? We're going to make a smart decision and go to college. Now, we can debate all day about what kind of degree you actually have. I can get into that later. But let's say you graduate, you start applying for jobs, you get these interviews. And I'm going to tell you what's happening in America. What's happening in America is that companies and organizations want you to have experience. But you don't have any experience. But I just graduated from college. How can I have experience? So they want you to do an entry-level job. So, well, apply for an entry-level job. Entry-level jobs, you're not hardly making anything. And not only that, but a lot of people, a lot of companies and organizations want you to work for free. Those are called internships. A lot of people get these internships and then they get nothing. Some of them working for free or very little. Now they have that experience. Now, once they get that experience, now you can say, well, I got some experience in doing X, Y, and Z. Oh, but wait, we have Susie, and I'm just using the name Susie. I don't know why I spelled it with a Z, but we have Susie here. You know what? No, let's do Anna. We have Anna here, and Anna is 50 years old, and she has more experience than you do, and she may have maybe college education, educated, maybe not, but she's been in the job for years. Do you really think a company or organization is going to bring in some new person and say, well, you know what, Anna, I'm sorry, but this new person that came in that don't know the job as well as you do is going to make more money than you and be in charge of you. So go ahead and good luck with that. That's not what's happening. And so what's happening is that you either have to know somebody or you have to be damn good at the in the field that you're in. We can talk about that later as well, because obviously in technical fields, it works a little bit differently. Okay. But in general, that's what happens. And so now what do you tell those people? Well, most people say, well, you know, if you interview well or if you network, right? That whole networking thing, you got to know somebody. You start networking, you start talking to people. Hey, you know, start shaking hands and going places and getting yourself out there. And that's what you got to do. You have to do all of that before you actually get a job so that you can purchase a home. Oh, and by the way, that's if you're able to do that. I'm in an opinion, this is my own personal opinion. The way our world works today is you should not have to get lucky in order to be able to live. You need a little luck, and sometimes you have to create your own luck in order for you to move forward in life, and that's just a terrible setup. So what do you say to some people? And I know that there are a lot out there. It took me damn near 2 years to find a job. But what do you tell people that, oh, they're intelligent? Excuse me. They're intelligent. They stay out of trouble. They don't go to clubs. They're living their life as cleanly as possible. They're volunteering. They're getting out. Excuse me. I don't know what happened. Wow. Excuse me. They're getting out. I'm probably talking too much, but it's pretty norm. They're getting out and they're doing all of the right things. And they get a job. Let's say they eventually do get a job. And then not only that, but once you get the job, the company or the organization treats you like, well, they treat you like you're trash. So you spend about all that time and then you work 2 or 3 years and then you're like, all right, I'm out. And then you go out and get another job and it's completely different than what your degree is in. And that's what's happening today. Now, I said all of that to say, well, in order for you to purchase a home or to get there, you're going to need to save up money in order to do that. How in the hell can you be able to do that if you're struggling with rent, if your wages stay the same, and you're not even able to save? And if you do save, you got to save from 10 to 20 years. And now a lot of people are like, well, what the hell do I do? Well, it's a mental thing, right? So you can either save as much as you possibly can, even if it's $5 a week or $5 a month, or you can invest. Where do you invest? There's another option. I just can't think of it right now. Or you can live well below your means, which is a problem for a lot of people, right? Because, you know, you need that dog or animal. And I had a long conversation with someone. I love dogs. I had a dog for 14, 15 years. My mom got rid of her without my knowledge. And I was really ticked off about that. I had her from elementary school to high school. Was really close to my dog. Hadn't had a dog ever since then. And I won't. Not because of the dog, but because of the fact that I understand the responsibilities of having a dog. Now, back in the day, we had an outside dog. You can't have an outside dog today. You know, you'll have human services coming after you. Not human services, animal services coming after you. But my point is that you have a dog, you have a cat, you have, you know, medical expenses for these. Now, you're trying to take care of yourself, but you also have an animal. Now, here's the thing, and by the way, all of this goes together, and I'm going to wrap it up in all one little bowl, nice and neat for you, and end it for you. But I want you to get the picture that when you're taking care of an animal, you're like, a lot of people are like, well, you know, it's for my mental health because my dog keeps me sane and I have a friend. And my dog loves me every single time I come home. Wonderful, great. Let me ask you, people, do you guys think that the mental health of America, or I'm just going to say America because I don't know other countries, do you think it has improved because more people are getting animals? No, it hasn't. Why? Because the mentality hasn't changed. And I know that sucks because, you know, you love your dog Muffy, you know, or whatever you name your dog, Spot. And I say dogs because most people like dogs. I like both dogs and cats. I think they both have their thing, but dogs are more fun. You can, you know, play with them and stuff like that. I volunteer at a shelter, at an animal shelter, and I walk dogs. So this is probably the reason why I do love animals. So, but anyway, let's take a look at you're trying to take care of yourself and your family. And not only that, but now you've added a dog to the mix, or a puppy, or whatever, because it's cute and that it provides you, you know, for your mental health, and it's your friend and different things like that. But is it worth it? There has to be a balance there. And when you bring something into your life, and it doesn't even have to be an animal, it could be anything. When you bring something into your life, your devices, whatever it is, you need to understand, is it worth it? Is it helping me reach my goals of where I need to be at or what I need to do? Or is it a hindrance, or am I tripping over myself and making it more of a hassle? So I'm going to say, I can't draw, but I'm going to see if I can do this, people. All right. We have a guy here, and he's on, hey, that's actually pretty good. No. All right. So this guy here, he's on the treadmill, and he's trying to move forward in life, but he's on this damn treadmill. These are what I call treadmill items, right? Things that hold you back from moving forward, and you don't realize you're on it because you feel like you're moving forward, but you're not actually going anywhere. So when you have a job that don't pay you much, or you have a job that don't pay you much, or your income is low. We can get into other ways of how you can get income. I'm not even going to get into that. And then you also have other things, right? You have social issues that could be holding you back. Your family could hold you back, right? Drama can hold, your friends can hold you back. Your children can hold you back. Now, I'm not talking about little small kids in which you have a responsibility. The kids are not holding you back. When you make a decision to sleep with somebody and you actually bring a child into the world, that is your responsibility. I'm not going to get into to the details into that because you guys already know my situation with my kids, which is terrible. But anyway, when you bring a child into the world, that is one of the things. I'm talking about children as far as discipline, as far as being able, especially for older parents that maybe in their 40s or 50s, and their kids are bringing problems into their lives. Okay, so now let's go with drinking, smoking. All of these items are huge items, money items, right? And so here's another one. Gifts. So we got Christmas, we got Valentine's Day, we got birthdays. And if you got a large family, there's a birthday going on every single month. There just is. All right. You have all of these things going on. And then we have drugs. In the United States, we have a huge problem with drugs. I'm not going to get into all of those specifics. So we have a lot of things here that's on our treadmill that's restricting us to move forward. Now, there's one other thing that I want to put here, and I actually think it's bigger than all of these put together, is a lack of discipline. When you have a lack of discipline, you need to be able to first see where you need to go in order to do it. And sometimes even when you see where you need to go, you got to be able to have the discipline to get there. If you're going to be on an exercise and you want to lose weight or anything, you say, hey, I'm going to hit the weights. And Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you're hitting weights. And then you are doing cardio to assist. I was going to get into something else. But you got to have that discipline to show up. You have that discipline to say, hey, you know what? I am not going to have Krispy Kreme donuts or Dunkin' Donuts every single Sunday. I'm actually going to cut that out. So I'm going to cut out my sugar. I'm going to cut out this. I'm going to cut out that. But you can say whatever you want, but you're going to have the discipline to be able to do it. Going back to what I was saying originally, that's one of the biggest issues that we're having today in our society, is that we're saying a lot of different things, but we have no discipline to follow through on what we need to do. And I know many of you are like, well, you can't you can't tell me how to live my life. And what about your life? And what are you doing? And how do you spend your energy? I have things that could be on my treadmill just as much as you, but I can almost promise you that I have a lot less. And so my mental health, I had a lot of things going on in my life, and I'm not going to get too deep, but I had a lot of things going on in my life in which I'm like, man, this world fucking sucks. My life sucks. This is trash. And I changed my mentality. I read a lot, and I'm a very philosophical person, as you guys already know. And, I used to be religious and all that good stuff, so I'm not going to go into that. Oh, but I'm not going to put it up there. But my point is that I changed my life, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to a different trajectory. And I actually created discipline. Well, I've already had discipline even before my military days. And I had more discipline than the people in the military because of my extreme conservative ways back in the day. Not conservative now, but I actually still have even more discipline than what I did before. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So you have all of these things on your treadmill. You got to get through all of that with rent, and then your wages are going sideways. And guess who are the only people who can afford all of these things and still purchase homes? Well, the rich. And that's what they do, is they buy it. See, they can afford a lot of rich people. That's why we have a lot of rich people out there that are struggling with their meaning of their lives right now, right? A lot of rich people are struggling with this. Why? Because they don't need discipline. They can have as many dogs as they want. They can have drama within their family, which some of them do. A lot of them do, especially asking for money. Their friends, they try to keep up with the Jones or whatever it is. The children are terrible. I don't even need to go as far as the White House to be able to tell you that. We have problems with drugs. They can have drugs and they can still live their life, not good for their body, but they can still live their life. They're still going to have all of these income coming in, regardless of whether they have discipline or not. People who are normal, people like me and you, we cannot afford to be able to do all of these things and still move forward in life. We just can't. That is the truth. If you want to lie, I don't know what to tell you. Go listen to somebody else. I know only about a couple of people really listen to my videos, especially when I get into this. But I feel like this is very important, because when I start shifting my conversation to cryptocurrency and holochain, you'll understand exactly why I'm a little bit more passionate about this. in particular, because this is just one asset. And it's crushing normal people like me and like you and like many others out there who are struggling to survive, because we have to change our mentality. What is the solution to all of this? Well, I have my own personal solution, and I'm not going to talk about it, but I did want to bring this to your attention of what's happening here in the United States of America. We have greed. And I don't know if you guys can see this. I try to pre-do my videos and make sure the whiteboard is being shown. But greed is something that does not work with capitalism. And that's why I say pure capitalism doesn't work. Because you're looking at the greed of human beings, and the way our system is set up is for the greedy to win. Why? Because they want to force you to do something. You got to provide something to this country, something to society. You got to do something. But last time I checked, and this is just me personally, I don't know why people need a Louis Vuitton bag, or somebody who is selling Louis Vuitton bags. I don't exactly understand why that's beneficial for society. I'm just saying. So when you force people to work these sucky jobs and you start sucking the life out of them as well, you have to force them to continue to do it over years and years and years. And that's why we have people over here in the United States of America. That's why we have so many people. We have 50, 60-year-olds, and they're all, working at Walmart or they're in Publix. And I feel bad for them because I'm like, well, goddamn. Like, you can barely pick up the bag to offer me my groceries. And you're here working a 7 or 8 hour job doing this. Our countries in general have been effing us up alive. And until we change our mentality, until we make our countries understand that it's the people that run the show, not you, and it's not the rich that runs the show, it's the people that run the show. And what's going to happen is when people start running the show, now we're going to find out what people really, truly want. But how can they do that if they can't get together? If the information that they're receiving is from one news source, or that many people disagree, and that's throughout the whole entire world. I can guarantee you that wars would not exist if most people were in charge and they're like, no, we're not having it. But we got a few people that's in charge that are like, I think that I need to destroy this other country, or I think I need to take over this plot of land, and all of it has to do with greed. So my mentality is greed is the source of all of this mess. How do we control it? How do we mitigate the damage that greed causes? Now, enter, and I'm going to talk about all of this stuff, but enter cryptocurrency, enter holochain, enter a different source of energy. Now, nothing is going to change, right? In order to create change, nothing is going to change unless you change the rules. And who makes the rules? Our government, our country, municipalities. I can go on and on and on. You guys know who's in charge. Then we also have the shadow government. We also have people behind the scenes that are running the show, that are actually controlling the government, controlling our politicians. And yes, they are being controlled. How do you mitigate that? It's very simple. First off, you have to come to the conclusion, and I know a lot of people don't really understand this, but everything doesn't have to be extreme. There has to be a mix between capitalism and socialism to create a better community, a better organization, a better lifestyle, so that people can all agree. You guys hear what I'm saying here? Watch. So people can all agree that there needs to be change. And this is all going to be looking very, very similar in a second. You have to agree that there has to be some kind of change. Who creates that change? The people make the change, because the people are the ones who vote. Now, we can get into the other countries and how they work. I'm not going to get into how you actually change those things, right? But how we can go into history of how America was created. We can go into history of how other countries have run things, or how they've almost taken over the world. We can go into a lot of different stuff. Honestly, history is not necessarily my strong suit, but in order for me to be able to move forward in life, I have to be able to understand how greed has developed over the years. So, how do we make change? Well, I'll tell you right now, what's not making change is one. Oh, this is the same color. I don't know if you guys can see that. These are a bunch of boxes here. But we have one, let's say, news source, government / government. And many of you guys are like, oh, well, we have CNN and Fox over here, and they don't agree with each other. They don't. They're not just two sides of the same coin. They don't want the same things. They're having different ways of actually getting to the same place. So I'm just saying, we need to start looking at things logically. We have government and their news source, and they say, hey, this news source communicates with this news source, communicates with this news source, communicates with this news source, and so forth and so forth. And your information is like telephone, right? Oh, this news source says this, but by the time it got here, this news source says this. By the time it got here, this news source says this. So they're all saying different things. And guess what? Well, this one don't have any idea of what's happening over here. It's the same thing with our countries, right? Our countries, we have certain news sources that are all over the place. And now we have better technology to where we have, well, if I'm over here in, I don't know, Kenya, I'm just going to say Kenya, and there's United States of America. Someone from Kenya could directly communicate with me through in the United States of America. And it's all done on the internet, right? And so there are certain avenues in which you can communicate socially. I know you guys can't even read that. My bad. It's really terrible. But socially, right? Your communication is controlled through something center. So what are our social things that we're talking about? We're talking about X. We're talking about Facebook, Amazon. I'll get into why Amazon is up here in a second. As far as communication is concerned, because of their servers. They have these servers. What else? Discord. Discord is a good one. Discord is pretty good, right? We have a way of, we have a center, we have a way of better communication with each other. I can communicate with anybody across the world using Discord. That's all wonderful. That's all good. But guess what? What has changed throughout the world? Even though we're able to communicate, what has changed? Nothing's really changed. However, What has changed, the biggest thing that has changed is that the way we view things are very, very, very different now. Why? Because our government and these news sources can't lie to us anymore. And some of them have already lied or lied to us continuously, and they just rather ask for forgiveness. Instead of telling the damn truth from the very beginning, they want money, right? They want money. They want to be able to be the first on the news source, so they don't really care whether the information that you're receiving is true or not. And that's a problem, obviously. But what can we do with that? How can we solve that issue and have that problem? Well, we have a collective agreement of how we want the world to run. No, not through our government, but through each other. The moment that we start saying, well, I want to talk to someone from Australia, I want to talk to someone from Switzerland, and I want to talk to someone from, I don't know, Brazil. Oh, I had to get South America in there somewhere. Brazil. And you know what? As a people, we're all going to agree that we're not going to have any more war. And we're all going to agree that we're going to get rid of all of the of nuclear weapons. Now, this is a dream thing. This is not true. I'm just telling you. But what happens when people, because there are a whole lot more normal, everyday people like ourselves, what if we start policing the world and start putting more responsibilities on our government as a whole? And we say, no, we're not having this war. Yes, we will defend and we will protect people from, we can get into the whole war thing as far as terrorism goes. You can't destroy terrorism. I said this a long time ago, before, even when it first started. I don't even know how you're going to destroy an organization with bullets, or ideology or philosophy. You can't. You have to change. You have to change their world. And that's the only way someone expand their world or change their world. It's the only way you can expand or change their viewpoint, because all of this is persuasiveness. Okay, you have to be able to be persuasive, but we can get into that. Again, that's a whole nother different conversation. So if we're able to communicate with each other in proper and create rules that we all can agree with, regardless of what the major rules are, can we just agree not to kill each other? This is just an example. So everybody across the world say, you know what, we're not killing any more people. Nope, just not doing it. Our governments come in and they say, well, we make the rules here. Okay, you can make whatever rules you want, but our society, how we want to do things, how the world wants to do things, as collectively as a whole, we don't want war anymore. So we have created certain rules and regulations and different things, and this is what we agree with. Well, we have our, the government and countries will say, well, we have our own rules here. You have to abide by our rules. Yeah, that's true. But our income, our energy, how we're building our schools, how we're building jobs, all of these things that we're doing it together, and we're building something. And the only thing that they're doing is strangling their people. I'm going to get into this. There's not a single, and I said this on Twitter, there's not a single government or organization out there or country out there that has over 200 years, and probably even more than that, that have successfully taken care of their people. And there's a reason for that. Just some thoughts. So there's not going to be any change throughout the whole entire world unless we change the way we communicate, unless we change the way we operate. And we're going to have to get into an agreement that, okay, we won't start with should alcohol be allowed for 14-year-olds or 15-year-olds or 16-year-olds in our country. What we should start with is, okay, order of operations, what's more important? Life. Life is more important. Can we agree that killing people is wrong? Okay, yes, we agree that killing people is wrong. Now, how do we police that in a sense? Well, we can't really police each other, right? Because if we're all across the world, who says, well, I agree with this, but you know what? I decided to kill my, I don't know, family member or cousin, whatever it is, or some guy, some bully that bullied me years ago. You change your mind, and now what happens? So what has to happen is that now this person is not part of this society anymore. So when we start creating have a collective agreement that, you know what, we don't want to kill anymore, or we don't want to do X, Y, and Z anymore, and more people are starting to come in, and they're starting to realize, hey, yeah, this is something that I can do. Now we can start breaking those things down and start getting into the nitty gritty. And maybe we can come up with a formula, right? That's a little bit of a capitalism, a little bit socialism, a little bit of different things, to where we can create a society that is actually moving forward, and where we're all benefiting each other and not having to be lucky in order to have a good life. You have to be lucky to be born in the United States, or not have it as bad as others, because I got lucky. Me personally, I got lucky that I was born here in the United States. I got lucky that I was born here in the United States within the last 20 or 30 years, and not born here around 99 to 100 years ago. No, make it 150 years ago. Yeah, I could say 100 years ago, but 150 years ago. I got lucky. Our lives should not be built on luck. It should be built on a systematic way so that we could prosper. Human beings can prosper together and move forward together. No, I am not a pacifist. I understand how society works and how the world works, so I can't be a pacifist. I just can't. And you also have to, I can talk about pacifism all day. So, how does this happen? Well, if the moment that other people from other countries start communicating with each other, and human beings start communicating with each other and say, oh, yeah, I want to do this, yeah, I want to do that, what's going to happen? The government's going to try to stop you. They're going to try to stop you. Oh, no, you can't do that. So what's going to happen? All of these big name organizations, they're going to shut us down. And I'm telling you, because all of these social issues that's rising up across the world is reaching a boiling point. And it's about to overflow. And when it does, it's going to get ugly. And I'm not telling you I think this is going to happen. I'm telling you I know it's going to happen. And when it gets ugly, the government's going to say, well, we got to control this because this is getting ugly. The people are going to start speaking. They're going to start trying to control. They're going to try to start shutting us down. And yes, I do believe that they're going to try to shut servers down and the internet down and our way of communication with each other. And that's where blockchain and cryptocurrency comes in. Blockchain and holochain comes in at. And that's where we have Holo come in, to where people, and not even just Holo, other technologies like it. Not necessarily, there's nothing exactly like Holo or holochain. But when we start saying, oh, well, our government said we can't do X, Y, and Z, but you know what? We're going to communicate with each other anyway. But But how do we do that? All our internets are shut down. Everything's shut down. How do we communicate with each other? Well, many of you guys are Holochain or Holo fans, so I'm not going to get into all of that. But what happens when, and I'm just using this as an example, what happens is, I don't know, I'm going to make a crypto truth ring, right? T-Truth ring. I'm just going to put T-ring, as in truth ring, right? Let's say I I have a truth ring here. And let's see here. Let's go with my favorite color, dark purple. It's dark purple truth ring. And I say, you know what? I am going to sell my ring across the entire world, and I'm going to tell everybody through means of communication that I possibly can that if we wear this ring, we are in an agreement that we're not going to kill each other. Now, we do have those today. We have, different social things. Oh, I'm part of this organization. I think the problem is that we're not starting off big. We're trying to solve all of the issues at once. But I just want to solve one issue, and that's life. Now, if we can maintain life, now we can start solving those other problems and those other issues. And then we can get together and really create an action behind solving those things, which I'm not going to talk about that. So let's say I'm able to communicate with everybody across the world. Now, when I go on vacations, or let's just say I go somewhere, maybe, let's just say somebody's drafted in the military. And let's say that they are a believer and they have, and I'm going into religion now, kind of, sort of, but they have a truth ring. And they're walking around and they're in a place where they're supposed to be killing people, and they see that those people are wearing a truth ring, and they're like, you know what? I'm not going to kill that person or that individual. And you know what? While I'm out here, I'm going to respect their customs and the things that they do, because we're all on the same page. They're killing each other. We're on that same page. Now, we can get into psychological and different situations. Why is the person even in the military anyway? If he doesn't want to kill anybody, he has to do exactly what the government tells him to do. I'm not going to get into that. Actually, I'm not going to get into that. So, but my point is, I'm just saying, if that person was, or if I was over in a different world, or if I was over in Malta or over wherever it is, and somebody's wearing a T-Truth ring, and I see that it's dark purple T-Truth ring, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? And they're like, hey, how's it going? And now we're moving forward. That is how you start creating action. That is a singular action of communication. The problem that we have now is that we don't have a singular action of communication. We have all of these different things that they want us to be upset with each other about, or there's so many different issues and problems that we can't focus on the main thing. The main focus is order of operations, and that's life first, right? And then we can get into everything else. But we have to get into that first. So what happens when you have a group of people or a country or whatever says, oh, we don't believe in T-Truth. We don't believe in that. Well, that's perfectly fine. But guess what? In our world, and the way we communicate, the way we want to do things, we don't want to kill each other. So it's not going to happen. But I tell you what, you can do it in your world. And by the way, don't do it to us, because we have a way of protecting ourselves, because we're going to stand with each other. If we start doing that at a very minute level and make it grow, then we won't have any more issues. And now we can start creating that change, because now the countries and governments are going to be like, well, they're not breaking our rules and regulations, but we got to stop this momentum somehow. The only way they can stop the momentum is by actually destroying the very people that put them there, so they can't do that either. So, having said all that, people, we have to be able to come together, and we're going to have to be able to create solutions for each other. I know this is a very long video, but this is one of the few videos that I feel is actually worth it. because I really want people to understand, if I die tomorrow, if I die 50 years from now or 20 years from now, at least people have me on record. Well, and I'm already about to go ahead and start dishing out those I was right videos with inflation and stuff like that. What is it called? I should be excited about being right, but it is what it is. It's us being human beings sometimes. Stagflation. Thank you. So, you know, I'm sorry, inside those videos, hey, this is what I said. This is the reason why I said it. It's happening. All of these things that I'm telling you now is going to happen. So anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Like I said, there's going to be a holochain video, specific holochain video out today. I'm actually really excited to talk about some things and some things that I've seen within a couple of weeks or so. So happy to be back on my computer. But anyways, as I always say, you guys, do your own research, do your own research, do your own research. And last but not least, above all else, please, please, please stay safe out there. Okay, you guys? Bye.